What's up? In another episode of Rio does not shoot with his film cameras, but he goes to a vintage lens shop in Tokyo. So yeah. So I know you guys been waiting for another video of me sort of trying to make a video related to camera lenses and stuff like that. And in most cases I was sort of like procrastinating, but this time around, this caught me off guard. And I recently found an unusual camera, aka more like a lens vintage shop located in the heart of Tokyo. This shop in particular is called SeekBase, and it is located in the heart of Akihabara, which opened like 3 years back, so back in 2019. This location is roughly really close to the main Akihabara JR station, like 5 to 10 minute walk away from that main station. And I have to admit, I never knew about this shop until a fellow YouTuber in Japan who makes like digital content towards Japanese people started to mention about this shop, and I did some digging and found out that this shop in particular sells vintage film camera lenses at more like affordable prices, and it's an unusual location which I wanted to like make a video on, so here I am. So background information for this shop called SeekBase that is basically the name of the shop. But what's interesting is this shop in particular is sort of like located in a sort of like what you call manufacturing building, which is also located below the overpass of the train. And it's interesting because in Japan, or in Tokyo in particular, locations under the train underpass is, how should I say, really sketchy area, and it's sort of like not a dangerous area, but you know what I mean. Not many people like walk below the underpass, and it's like really nitty gritty, and it's like dirty, and it's like where bad things happen, you know. And there was this sort of like thing going on where people start to renovate these types of underpasses above the train that like passes by. And this area in particular in Akihabara, actually they renovated it and wanted to sort of make this sort of like otaku type of mayhem, similar to Nakano Broadway. If you guys are interested, check that area too. It's a really fascinating location, sort of like an otaku anime lover's dream kind of come true type of area. And I'm going a little bit off topic, but within this sort of like district, there's a shop called SeekBase Tokyo, actually, which focuses on vintage type of glass lenses and cameras. Some cameras are being sold in this shop. FYI, for your information, SeekBase is sort of like parent company is, I never knew about it, is Sanpou Camera, which is another gigantic magnet camera store actually located in around Meguro area. But Sanpou Camera is a large sort of distributor focused mostly on digital equipment similar to map camera actually. But they are located near the Gakugei Daigaku Station. It's pretty far away. It's like 30 minutes away from that station on the Tokyo Toyoko line, which I talked about in my previous video actually, when I went like shopping for film stocks. Going a little bit off topic, but that parent company's second camera shop is called SeekBase, and they basically had a sort of like a different concept compared to their like original shop, which they wanted to target sort of like the sort of like consumers who shoot with a film camera or maybe digital camera actually, who wanted to try these like vintage old type of film type of cameras within their stores. So, and if I'm right, their sort of like concept for this shop is sort of like trying to make this sort of like hideout type of bunker styles. I don't know what you guys would call it. Sort of like a hideout type of area. Remember when we were like small childs, we built like a tree house or something if we lived in the countryside, and we basically played around there the whole day. I guess they have some kind of like concept similar to that, and they wanted a location for film photographers to like meet around this area and sort of like check out various type of vintage glass that are being sold nowadays, which are being hard to like find. And you can basically find exquisite type of lenses in the store, such as the famous, Pentax Takumar 55mm f2.8. They have a lot of those, along with, if you're lucky, they might have the Helios 442 and the Nikkor AIS lens, which I use. They have a lot actually, and the Konica Hexagon type of lenses. and various more. Unfortunately, this shop does not ship outside of Japan. However, what's interesting about this shop is that this is sort of another concept they have, is that you can basically test these almost each and every lenses within their shop actually. And what's interesting furthermore is that they also have mount adapters if you shoot with a digital camera. So if you have a Sony camera, if you have a Nikon camera, Canon, or maybe like a Fujifilm camera, I'm not sure about Pentax, but they do have a sort of like a mount adapter, which you can basically convert that vintage glass, because typically vintage glass has this weird mounting sort of like way, and you basically have to convert it using via a mount adapter for it to work on a digital camera. And they basically have this concept of having the consumers check beforehand of what that camera, or not what the camera, but what that lens would produce before like purchasing. And I saw, like I said, a fellow YouTuber talking about this with their like store manager, and they said that although this, let's say this Pentax Super Takamar 55mm f2.8 and this Pentax exact same Super Takamar 55mm f2.8 exact same lenses, but they were manufactured in sort of like different times. However, in that year, however, because that lens was produced 30-40 years back, along that life of that in a specific lens, the coatings might get peeled off in a certain way, while this lens itself, the coating hasn't peeled off and stuff like that. And what I'm trying to say, and what the store manager was like saying, is that like, although these two are exactly the same lenses, along that 30-40 time period, when you shoot it with a digital camera, you can obviously visually see that each and every lens, although they were manufactured by the exact same manufacturer, they produce completely different results. The flaring, the ghosting, the color tint, it might have a magenta tint, it might have a cyan tint, you know what I'm talking about. So what the store manager was saying, that is that we don't want our consumers to be betrayed of knowing the results after they purchase a lens and go home, put it on their camera and shoot and see that it wasn't what they expected. We want the consumers to sort of like have this opportunity to sort of understand this particular lens before going on to that full purchase of that lens. So this was like really interesting concept, because not many like what are called camera shops in Tokyo offer that service, and this sort of like camera shop, lens vintage shop, has that service. And you can basically, like I said, borrow and mount adapter within their store. If you ask them politely, can I have sort of like test this lens out on the Sony E mount, what was the Sony mount, or Fuji's X mount, or Canon's EF mount, Nikon's F mount, yeah. So it's like really interesting to hear that you can basically try them out within their stores. In addition to that, they also do sell film stocks within their stores. So if you're running out of film stocks, you can basically just walk in casually and see if a particular film stock is available. They had the Ultramax, and they had a couple of medium format like color negatives film stocks in stores. They had the 160 NS, which caught me off guard actually, and various others. And along with that, they do have camera shops, accessories, and stuff like that. And some medium format cameras were being sold within their stores. They had the Hasselblad, they had the Pentax 67, the Pentax 645. And what was unusual about this shop is they had the Bronica RF 645, which is really hard to come by. And if you guys don't know about the Bronica RF 645, if I'm right, that 645 camera is probably the most expensive camera on the market, if I'm right, which costs roughly $2,000 or so, and beyond my budget. But yeah, it's an interesting camera which only shoots in portrait orientation. So I guess, like I said, like probably if you're ever traveling to Tokyo, probably 100% of you guys who watch my video love photography, love film photography, well, definitely come to Akihabara 100% if I'm right. And if you do, please like visit the shop, because like I said, it's really hard to like find these types of camera shops in Tokyo nowadays. Some are being closed now permanently, while new ones are being like popped out of nowhere. So, and probably I never seen a foreigner talk about this like camera shop in particular. So I thought it would be nice to like mention it on my channel. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Yeah, please leave a comments or any questions, inquiries about it if you have any. And along with that, like, this is going off topic, but after I visited this shop, right beside this shop, there was a Bam Presto museum. And if you guys know about Bam Presto, I don't know much about Bam Presto, but if you're like a 90s kid or 2000s kid, if I'm right, I think they're one of their famous like games back in the days in Japan was called like Puyo Puyo, and they do like it's like Konami and it's like sort of like Capcom and stuff. They have like figures and stuff like that, and there was this Bam Presto museum right beside this camera shop, which had this sort of like retro feel to it, and it was like really interesting. The colors and stuff like that. I mean, it would have been nice if I shot a that area with a Cinestill 800T now that I think about it, because of the neon like LEDs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really interesting area, like I said. And I forgot to take a BTS, but there was an arcade on the far end of the corridor, and there was also a record shop if you're into music. So really resembles the Nakano Broadway type of area. So if you're interested, please like visit this area. So yeah, like I said, we will see you next time. Peace out.